What happens when royal privilege meets American television? In just 37 seconds, one explosive comment would turn a routine late-night interview into television history and expose the true character of a man who thought his title made him untouchable. Stephen Colbert adjusted his tie and looked directly into the camera as the familiar Late Show theme music faded. The studio audience buzzed with anticipation. Tonight's guest was supposed to be a ratings goldmine. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prince Harry," Stephen announced with his trademark smile. The Duke of Sussex walked onto the stage with a confident stride, waving casually at the cheering crowd. He settled into the guest chair, crossing his legs and leaning back like he owned the place. "Your Royal Highness, welcome to the show," Stephen said warmly. Harry held up a hand. "Just Harry is fine, Stephen. We're keeping things casual tonight." "Well, just Harry, thanks for being here. I have to say, you look comfortable. More comfortable than most of our guests, actually." "I should hope so," Harry replied with a smirk. "I've done this dance before. American television, you know. It's quite simple, really." Stephen's smile flickered for just a moment. "Simple? Well, I suppose after sitting down with Oprah, this might feel like a warm-up." "Exactly. Though I have to say, Stephen, your questions better be more interesting than the usual fluff. I didn't fly all the way here for softball." The audience laughed nervously. Stephen maintained his composure, but something shifted in his eyes. "Oh, don't worry. I've got plenty of interesting questions. Let's start with your book. You've been quite open about your family, your struggles. Some might say brutally honest." Harry leaned forward. "Some might say that. Others might say I'm finally telling the truth, something American audiences seem to appreciate more than British ones." "Right. Well, speaking of truth, you've made some pretty serious accusations. Your father? Your brother? The institution itself? Do you ever worry about burning bridges?" "Stephen, let me stop you right there," Harry said, his tone becoming sharper. "Those aren't accusations. Those are facts. And if people can't handle the truth, that says more about them than it does about me." Stephen nodded slowly. "Fair enough. But surely you understand that some people might see it differently. Your family, for instance." "My family?" Harry laughed, but there was no humor in it. "My family had decades to make things right. They chose their precious institution over their own son, their own brother. So no, I don't particularly care how they see it." The studio fell quiet. Stephen glanced at his notes, then back at his guest. "That's a heavy burden to carry, Harry. All that anger." "It's not anger, Stephen. It's clarity. Something I wish I'd had years ago. Could have saved everyone a lot of trouble." "Including your grandmother? The Queen?" Harry's face darkened. "Don't you dare try to guilt me with my grandmother. She knew exactly what was happening, and she did nothing. Nothing. They all stood by and watched while my wife was destroyed by their media machine." Stephen sat up straighter. "Harry, I think we should, maybe." No, Stephen. You wanted interesting questions, right? You wanted the real story? Well, here it is. My family threw us to the wolves to save themselves. They fed Meghan to the British press like she was expendable, like we both were." The audience was dead silent now. Stephen looked genuinely concerned. "Harry, I understand you've been through a lot, but nothing," Harry snapped. "You Americans love this stuff, don't you? The drama, the inside story. Well, congratulations, you're getting it. My father literally cut me off financially. Can you imagine? His own son. Because I had the audacity to protect my wife and children." Stephen tried to interject. "I think what our audience really wants to know is how you're moving forward." "Moving forward?" Harry's voice was rising. "Stephen, you're not listening. They tried to destroy us. Completely. And when that didn't work, they froze us out. Like we never existed." "Harry, maybe we should take a breath here." "A breath? A breath? Stephen, do you have any idea what it's like to have your entire family turn against you? To have the woman you love attacked daily by a press that your own family feeds information to?" Stephen was clearly trying to regain control of the interview. "I can only imagine how difficult that must have been. But, no, Stephen, you can't imagine. Because your family doesn't control a 1,000-year-old institution that can destroy people with a whisper. Your family doesn't have the power to make someone disappear from public life just because they don't fit the perfect image." The host was now visibly uncomfortable. "Harry, I think our viewers would be interested in hearing about your new life in California, your charitable work." "Charitable work?" Harry scoffed. "You want to talk about charity, Stephen? How about we talk about the charity of my family actually supporting their own members instead of hanging them out to dry?" Stephen took a deep breath, clearly trying a different approach. "What I'm hearing is a lot of pain, Harry, and I think people can understand that. But at some point, don't you have to find a way to heal and move on?" Harry stared at him for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was dangerously quiet. Heal? Move on? Stephen, let me ask you something. If someone tried to destroy your wife, your children, your entire livelihood, would you just move on? Would you heal and pretend it never happened? I'd probably try to find a path forward that didn't involve relitigating every grievance on national television, Stephen replied, his own patience clearly wearing thin. The tension in the studio was now palpable. Harry's face flushed red. Relitigating? Stephen, these aren't old grievances. This is ongoing. They're still trying to control the narrative, still trying to make us look like the villains in this story. Harry, I invited you here tonight because I thought you might want to talk about your future, your projects, maybe even some lighter topics. But it seems like you're determined to relitigate the past. There it is again, Harry said, standing up slightly in his chair. Relitigate. Like fighting for your family's dignity as some kind of courtroom drama for your entertainment. Stephen held up his hands. That's not what I meant, and you know it. Do I? Because from where I'm sitting, Stephen, it sounds like you're just another person telling me to sit down, shut up, and be grateful for whatever scraps the institution wants to throw my way. The words hung in the air like poison. Stephen's face went from concern to genuinely offended. The audience could feel the shift, the moment when professional courtesy died. Harry, I think you need to take a step back here, Stephen said firmly. I'm not your family. I'm not the British press. I'm just trying to have a conversation. A conversation? Harry laughed bitterly. Stephen, you invited me here under false pretenses. You said you wanted to hear my story, but really, you just want me to play nice and pretend everything is fine. I want you to be honest, but I also want you to be fair. And right now, you're being neither. Harry's eyes flashed dangerously. Fair? Fair? Stephen, let me tell you about fair. Fair would have been my family supporting my wife when she was getting death threats. Fair would have been them standing up to the press instead of feeding them stories. Harry, I get that you're angry. Don't patronize me, Harry snapped. I'm not some emotional child having a tantrum. I'm a grown man who watched his family destroy his marriage, his mental health, and his future. Stephen leaned forward, his own voice getting sharper. Your family didn't destroy your marriage, Harry. You're sitting here married, with children. Your marriage survived. Barely, Harry shot back. And only because we had the courage to leave, to walk away from everything. You walked away from your responsibilities. The words came out harsher than Stephen intended, but he didn't take them back. The audience gasped audibly. Harry's face went white, then red. My responsibilities? My responsibilities, Stephen? What about their responsibilities to me? What about their responsibility to protect their own family members? Harry, being part of a royal family comes with certain expectations. Expectations? You mean like expecting me to watch my wife be destroyed for entertainment? Like expecting me to smile and wave while they fed her to the media like meat to sharks? Stephen was losing his patience now. No one forced you to marry into that family, Harry. You knew what you were getting into. I knew what I was getting into. Harry was on his feet now, pacing behind his chair. Stephen, I was born into this. I didn't choose any of it. And when I finally found someone who made me happy, they destroyed it. They tried to destroy her. They didn't try to destroy anyone, Harry. The press coverage was harsh, sure, but what? But we should have just taken it? Just accepted that my wife would be called names, threatened, driven to the point of... Harry stopped himself, breathing heavily. Stephen softened slightly. Harry, sit down, please. Let's try to have a real conversation here. A real conversation? About what, Stephen? About how I should be grateful? About how I should have just stayed and let them continue to abuse my family? About taking some responsibility for your own choices? The words hit Harry like a physical blow. He stopped pacing and stared at Stephen in disbelief. Responsibility for my choices? Stephen, the only choice I made was to protect my family. The only choice I made was to leave a toxic situation. You also made the choice to air your family's private business on international television. Multiple times, because they left me no choice. Harry's voice was getting louder. They controlled the narrative for years. They let lie after lie be printed about us while they said nothing. So you decided to fight fire with fire. I decided to tell the truth. Your version of the truth. Harry slammed his hand on the arm of his chair. My version? Stephen, there's only one version. What happened, happened. They threw us away. Harry, you're starting to sound paranoid. The studio went dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Harry stared at Stephen with pure rage. Paranoid? Paranoid? Stephen, are you seriously going to sit there and gaslight me on your own show? I'm not gaslighting anyone. I'm trying to have an adult conversation, but you seem incapable of taking any responsibility for your own actions." "My actions?" Harry's voice cracked. "Stephen, my actions were trying to save my marriage. My actions were trying to protect my children from the same treatment that killed my mother. Harry, your mother died in a car accident. My mother died because she was being chased by photographers who were fed information by the same people who were supposed to protect her. The same people who did nothing to protect me and Megan." Stephen rubbed his temples. "Harry, I think we need to wrap this up. You're clearly not in a space where we can have a productive conversation." "Productive conversation? Stephen, what would be productive for you? Me apologizing? Me saying I was wrong to leave? Me begging to go back? I'd like you to show some basic respect for the people who raised you and the institution that gave you every privilege you've ever had." Harry's mouth fell open. "Respect? Stephen, where was there respect for me? Where was there respect for my wife? For my children? Your children are fine, Harry. They're living in a mansion in California with every advantage imaginable. Because I got them out. Because I refused to let them be destroyed like I was." Stephen was clearly done with the conversation. "Harry, I think you need to consider that maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't everyone else. Maybe the problem is you." The audience was completely silent. Harry stood there, shaking with rage, staring at Stephen like he couldn't believe what he just heard. "The problem is me? The problem is me, Stephen? I'm the problem because I refused to let my family be abused? I'm the problem because I told the truth about what they did to us? You're the problem because you can't seem to take responsibility for anything. Everything is someone else's fault. Your family, the press, the institution, everyone except Harry." "Stephen, I can't believe you're saying this. I came here thinking you were different, thinking you might actually understand what we went through." "I understand that you made choices, Harry. Choices that hurt a lot of people. And instead of owning those choices, you're sitting here playing the victim." Harry's face was now completely red. "Playing the victim? Stephen, we were the victims. We were the ones being attacked every single day. We were the ones getting death threats. And you were also the ones making millions of dollars telling your story to anyone who would listen. We made money because we had to survive, because they cut us off, because they left us with nothing. They left you with nothing? Harry, you're worth millions of dollars. You live in a mansion. Your children go to private schools. That's not nothing. That's not the point," Harry screamed. The entire studio jumped. Security guards stepped forward slightly. Stephen held up a hand to stop them, but his expression had completely changed. Stephen looked directly at Harry, his voice now ice cold. "Harry, you need to lower your voice. This is my show, and you will not scream at me or my audience." "Your show?" Harry's voice was shaking with fury. "Your show, Stephen? Well, let me tell you something about your show. It's garbage. Absolute garbage. You sit here every night making jokes about people's lives, their pain, their struggles, and you think that makes you some kind of hero." The audience was completely stunned. Some people started to boo, but Stephen held up his hand for silence. "Harry, I'm going to give you one chance to apologize and sit down. One chance." "Apologize? Apologize to you? Stephen, you should be apologizing to me. You brought me here under false pretenses. You pretended to care about my story, and then you attacked me. You attacked my family. You called me paranoid. I called you paranoid because you're acting paranoid. You're sitting here ranting about conspiracies and victim complexes instead of having an adult conversation." "Adult conversation?" Harry laughed maniacally. "Stephen, there's nothing adult about this. You're just another American talk show host trying to make me dance for your entertainment. Well, guess what? I'm not dancing anymore." Stephen stood up from behind his desk. "Harry, you need to leave. Now." "I need to leave? I need to leave? Stephen, you invited me here. You begged my people to get me on this show, and now you're kicking me out because I won't play your little game? I'm asking you to leave because you're being disrespectful to me, to my staff, and to my audience. This is not how guests behave on my show." Harry pointed his finger directly at Stephen. "Your audience? Stephen, your audience deserves to know what kind of person you really are. They deserve to know that you're just another puppet for the establishment, just another person who wants to keep the truth buried." The security guards were now moving closer. Stephen motioned for them to wait. "Harry, last warning. Sit down and apologize or leave." "I'm not apologizing for telling the truth, and I'm not apologizing for standing up for my family. If you can't handle that, Stephen, then maybe you shouldn't have people on your show who actually have something real to say." "Something real to say? Harry, all you've done tonight is whine about how unfair your life has been. You were born into incredible privilege, married a beautiful woman, have healthy children, and live in luxury. And all you can do is complain. Harry's face went purple with rage. Complain? Complain? Stephen, my mother is dead because of these people. My wife was driven to thoughts of suicide because of these people. My children will never know their grandfather or their uncle because of these people. And you call that complaining? I call it taking responsibility for your own choices instead of blaming everyone else for the consequences. Consequences? What consequences, Stephen? The consequence of marrying someone they didn't approve of? The consequence of having a mixed-race wife? Is that what you mean by consequences? The audience gasped. Stephen's face hardened. Don't you dare try to make this about race, Harry. That's not what this is about. Isn't it, Stephen? Isn't that exactly what this is about? They couldn't stand that I married someone who didn't look like them, who didn't sound like them, who didn't bow down to their precious traditions. Harry, you're out of line. I'm out of line? Stephen, you know what's out of line? Having your own family leak stories to destroy your wife's reputation. Having them question whether your children are legitimate heirs. Having them make your wife feel so unwelcome that she considers ending her own life. Stephen was clearly done. He looked directly at the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this. This is not the show we intended to give you tonight. Harry spun around to face the camera as well. Don't apologize to them, Stephen. Tell them the truth. Tell them that you brought me here to ambush me. Tell them that this was all a setup to make me look bad. This was not a setup, Harry. This was supposed to be a conversation. But you turned it into a therapy session. A therapy session? Stephen, you want to talk about therapy? Let me tell you what therapy taught me. It taught me that people like you, people like my family, you're all the same. You pretend to care, you pretend to listen, but really, you just want to control the narrative. Security, please escort Prince Harry off the stage. The guards stepped forward. Harry held up his hands. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. I'm leaving on my own. Harry, please just go quietly, Stephen said, clearly exhausted. Quietly? Stephen, I haven't been quiet for years, and I'm not starting now. Your audience deserves to know what kind of person you really are. They deserve to know that you're just another establishment lackey who can't handle the truth. Harry started walking toward the exit, but turned back one more time. And Stephen, when this airs, when people see how you treated me, they're going to know exactly who you are. They're going to see that you're no different from the rest of them, no different from the people who destroyed my family. Harry, just leave. I'm leaving. But I want everyone watching to know that this is what happens when you tell the truth in America. This is what happens when you stand up to the establishment. They silence you. They kick you out. They make you the villain. Harry was now at the edge of the stage, security flanking him but not touching him. Stephen, you had a chance tonight to be a real journalist. You had a chance to hear the truth and share it with your audience. Instead, you chose to attack me. You chose to defend the very people who tried to destroy my family. Harry, please. Please what, Stephen? Please pretend this never happened? Please go back to being quiet? Please stop telling the truth? Never. I will never stop fighting for my family. And I will never stop exposing people like you, who pretend to care but really just want to maintain the status quo. Harry walked off the stage, leaving Stephen standing there in front of a completely silent audience. The host looked shaken, running his hand through his hair. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry you had to witness that. That was not the interview any of us expected tonight. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll try to end the show on a better note. As the cameras cut away, Stephen slumped back into his chair, the weight of what had just happened settling over the studio like a dark cloud. The audience sat in stunned silence, processing the spectacular meltdown they had just witnessed. Harry was gone, but the damage was done. In 37 seconds of screaming, he had revealed exactly who he really was, and it wasn't pretty.